Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you to our new podcast series, The Pause Effect. Um, my name is Rusha, and I am someone who stammers from Kolkata, and I have joined TISA for quite a I have been working with TISA for quite a long time now. I think 2 years. And I got this wonderful opportunity to co-host this podcast with my dear friend Vidya. So the pause effect is basically a series of podcasts where we will delve deep into uh, 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 conversations surrounding stammering, communication accessibility, ease, empowerment, and in fact go beyond to talk about intersectionality, disability, care, and access. And also the barriers that stop us from freely speaking the way we want to and in our own terms, plus also the challenges that the various stammering communities are like you know posing to these barriers, and how strength is there all around the world right in front of us. Before we move on to start with this session and conversation, I would just like to mention that while someone is talking, this is like a norm for this space. So when someone is talking, please try not to interrupt. If you have a burning question, a comment, or any reflection, please use the chat box to drop that in, or you can also raise hand and wait for your turn to speak. And we deeply, encourage you to, talk about any issue that, resonates with you during this conversation in the chat box. And with that, we can formally start our session. Now over to my co-host Vidya.
Thank you, Rusha, for this lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. I am Vidya, and I'm a person who stammers. And I'm really glad to be here. And I would like to start by sharing something interesting that I came across. Super Penguin, a technology company, is currently developing the world's first AI voice with a stammer that includes pauses, repetition, and blocks, just like how we all speak. So it's such a refreshing change because when so much of technology is focusing on fixing or curing stammer, this is something which is quite different, and also it is about representation and inclusion. And within our own community, we are finding new ways to, engage with technology. For example, Dr. Sachin has been training a Telegram bot that helps us, helps to, answer, our doubts regarding stammering. So, Dr. Sachin, as someone who has seen this space evolve over years, both as the founder of TISA, and someone exploring technology to support our community, what do you think real inclusion looks like when it comes to stammering? And also, how do you see these technologies helping shift the way stammering is understood?
May I pass this question on to others because there are so many capable people here right now.
Yeah,
And
sure,
and
Dr.
second thing is at 67 at my age I need some time to warm up. So I'll pass it on to Amit or Dinesh, all these wonderful people who are here. Pass.
Do you want somebody else to take on the question, Vidya? Should we
Yes,
do that?
and I will surely come back to Dr. Sachin as well because he's extremely good at training bot, as I can understand. So please, people can come and answer.
So I think one of the things that is a very tangible, that's going to have a very tangible impact is more efficient, more robust voice recognition. A lot of times when we stammer and it is a machine that is listening and speech recognition software is being used, I don't think things are developed to a point where the import of a message, with all the stops and starts and the hesitations and the blocks, is actually conveyed very efficiently. So if AI can help with basic perception, basic voice recognition, speech recognition to enhance it further, I think that would be a very tangible sort of improvement in the way our life experience is shaped around making phone calls and speaking to machines and so on and so forth. So I think that would be one very clear place I can think of right away. That is already there, but I think it can be significantly improved.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amit, for sharing your views. So, anybody else would like to share their, uh, thoughts about this, especially when it comes to representing stammer in, future technology or whatever?
Vidya, can I come in?
Yes, yes, Harish.
Okay, so just to understand your question, you are asking about how technology can impact the people who stammer and their lives, right?
I mean, yeah, in a way, and also, how do you find our voice being included in that space, positively?
Right. Okay. So as far as my experience is concerned so far, uh, there has been a lot of work going on to accommodate PWS in voice commands, like how we have Alexa or Siri, right? And it has already been identified that people who stammer, when they give voice commands, often these voice commands are not understood by the tech. So if I say, if I want to say that, Alexa, put on the TV, and I stammer on that, Alexa would uh, respond, sorry, I did not get it. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
so this kind of training is already being done because we, TISA, were contacted by, I think, 2 or 3 companies who wanted to get samples of PWS and different samples.
Mm.
Like they did this kind of sample collection from various countries and they wanted from India also. That
Mm.
also means that, it's not just the PWS, but they also want to include PWS from different ethnicity and there's what I would say, dialects and pronunciations, accents. So I think this is happening already. Whereas I think as far as the other side is concerned, whereas like people launching apps to help PWS speaking fluently and all. This is also happening, and but I'm not too I wouldn't be very happy about this because this is again it will be like making PWS dependent on something. So say what if this tag is not available and I have to do a very urgent PPT, then
Yeah.
what? So I think this kind of tech will make PWS a step behind. It will take us a step behind. But I think if it is uh, accommodation when it comes to voice commands, I think it is good, it is positive, and I think it's already happening. That's all I am sharing.
Thank you so much, Harish. You have, uh, talked from both the, angles. And one more angle is that what if Alexa stammers? Like, what if the AI itself stammers? So that is something is what Super Penguin is trying to do here, which is kind of, very unique approach to recognizing our voices. In fact, their employee, the person who is also working on the technology is actually a person who stammers. So he's currently training it to have those pauses, repetitions in the robo voice itself. So something I just wanted to start off with this. In this session, yeah. Um, So over to Rusha.
Thank you so much, Vidya. Thank you so much, Dr. Bajaj and Harish sir for sharing your insights. Like I think like those insights were very like important for us to like know and sort of like start the like session off with. So moving on, as you all may have gathered from our conversation so far, our session today has to do with stammering and barriers. So uh, to be precise, the big question on which we will be thinking today is stammering by word disabling, I mean the kind of social barriers that stops you from speaking on your own terms and in your own pace. The word disabling and disorder are often used interchangeably, but there are small connotations which like differ them. Uh, the words disabling, disablement, disabled, these basically signify the day-to-day access challenges that we face to like navigate in society. Just to cite an example, when I stammer and the listener interrupts me saying that I should talk faster and with more confidence, I feel disabled. It's just that my stammering is not stopping me from saying what I want to say, but it is the listener who is not creating that space for me. So in this sense, today's question, and I repeat once more, is that is stammering disabling for me? Do I face limitations because of the societal norms around communication and speech? So in the chat box, Vidya will post a poll, and we will all take 3 minutes to reflect on this question and respond. So here we go. Please, Vidya.
So I will end the poll now. Thanks to everyone who, responded to the poll. As we can see, 6 out of 21 people have participated, and also we have received a few more in the comments. So I guess around 30 percentage have said yes, and 30 percentage around have said no, and around 45 have said maybe. As we can see, the results are varied. So this tells us that stammering isn't experienced in just one way, and the idea of disability can shift depending on our environment and expectations around us, and also whether we have the right kind of support backed by policies. So now I would like to, invite Dr. Amit, speech language pathologist and TISA's long time advisor, to share his insights on how, how the, I mean, understanding of stammering and disability are, evolving both in uh, clinical lens and also in social lens. Uh, Dr. Amit, please, if you could share your views.
Sure. Thank you, Vidya, for the poll, and thank you for the results. I think it's the diversity of responses in the room actually demonstrate also the individual variation in our experience. I'll be perhaps one of the people in this panel who will be talking about these topics in a non-storytelling sense, because I work in the stammering space. I'm connected to the research, I'm connected to the clinical practice. So I'll be talking more in generalities. I'll throw in some examples as we go along. But the points I wanted to make is just, first of all, understanding it, a response to your question, Rusha, about like, is stammering disabling? Yes, no, maybe. I wrote maybe in that column because I wanted to play both sides of the issue. And specifically, it's that word also resonates with my experience quite a bit. I think how disabling it is depends on a person's life experience, and the kinds of experiences that they have had, their own relationship with their own stammer, with their own speech. And also unrelated to it somewhat is the impact on everyday life. That's the basic classic definition of what a disability is. And that again speaks to the individual variation in the experience. I want to start a little bit by contrasting two terms. One is impairment. What is an impairment? And what is a disability? Because I think they are highly related, but they're also different. So an impairment, the way it's traditionally defined, is some abnormality in structure of functioning, in body structure and function. And this could be, when I say body, I mean both the mental and the physical body. So we are talking about, some anomaly, some atypicality. Impairments tend to be biologically based in nature. Disability is, as the word indicates, less able to. Dis is basically less, Latin for less, is the extent to which we're not able to do certain things because of the impairment. So let's be clear as to what the definition of what a disability is. The other way of looking at it is, what is the adverse impact of having a particular impairment? That was also one way of looking at a disability. So an example would be, let's say, you're walking down the stairs, you break your leg or you break your arm. Now you have a structural impairment, which is going to impede how much you can function, how mobile you can be, how you can grasp certain things, whether you can drive a car or not, all of those kinds of things. And the disability component would be, let's say you've injured your right leg, because of which you're not able to drive. So that's an activity limitation that you are facing because of the particular impairment that you have. That's going to restrict you further in doing certain valued things that you are considered to be important to you. Going to work, going to school, you may have to take an Uber for a while. So there is a disability that is accruing, that is coming out of the particular impairment we have. Translating that into the stammering experience, as a school-age child, I think we have all had this experience to some extent or the other. We're often reluctant to raise our hand in class. Now, that is something that is a holding back that we initiate. We inhibit ourselves because we don't, because of the negative experiences that we have when we stammer in social environments. As a result of which, let's say I'm a kid that is highly avoidant, that is very covert, that doesn't raise his hand in class. Now, that's an activity limitation that's going to have consequences. Maybe have trouble absorbing academic information because my questions are never answered because I never ask them. Maybe I'm not able to form, social relationships very quickly because I feel encumbered by my own speech. I don't want to reveal the fact that I'm a person who's stammers. So the source of the holding back, the source of the limitation can be social. It can also be personal. It can also be both. A lot of us have levels of internalized stigma towards our own speech. So I think whether you're looking at stammering from the medical model, which I'll talk about in just a second, or the social model of disability, the disability component is widely understood to be very much part of the stammering experience. Whether it is for one individual person at whatever stage in their life, how are they responding to this particular poll, those are all individual variation characteristics. I'm talking about on aggregate what we typically see. So under the medical model of looking at stammering or any impairment that exists, the idea is that the nexus, the connection between impairment and disability, that they are fused, they are one. A person is disabled because they have a particular impairment. That is the logic of the medical model. So both the individual, both the impairment and the disability component in a condition is located within the body. And to the extent that the medical model has driven therapy for stammering over the last 50, 60 years, at least here in the West, and it continues to dominate the clinical landscape in India as well, as I know that. The attempt in speech therapy has been largely to reduce the impairment component, which is another way of saying teach the person to talk more fluently, to stammer less frequently, to stammer with less struggle. So in other words, bring about change in the individual body so that the disability component is lowered. The social lens on this is recognizing fully well that impairments can cause limitations, but the assumption in the social model of disability is that disabilities arise because of a mismatch between what the person is able to do, what the person has the capacity to do, and what the social expectations are. So in that classroom example, I am reluctant to raise my hand because I've been laughed at in the past. Children have laughed at me. I've been ridiculed. I've been teased and bullied. So because my speech is not able to live up to the norms of being reliably fluent, I have this restriction. I impose this restriction, but this restriction is coming largely because kids in the classroom laugh at me, or the teacher laughs at me, or I'm not given enough time to communicate, or whatever. So then the focus on the social model is more about not reducing necessarily the impairment component in the condition, but thinking about how we can push into societies, how we can change social norms, how we can activate those aspects of society that normalize the condition so we don't feel constrained and we don't feel held back. But in both models, the potential for stammering to create disability is very widely recognized. Third point I want to make is, what is the evidence? What is the research-based evidence that has been collected from the stammering population, at least in the West, to show that stammering has a disabling nature? In other words, what is the research on adverse impact? And I'm going to point to research in 4 areas that have been going on for the last 15 to 20 years over here. One is the research on teasing and bullying. So on aggregate, it is reported that about 50 to 80% children who stammer, school-age children who stammer, report being teased and bullied. And this is about 2 to 3 times higher. This percentage is about 2 to 3 times higher than than students who do not stammer reporting teasing and bullying for other reasons. So right off the bat, we are talking about a 2 to 3 point elevated risk of being teased and bullied in school because you are a person who stammers. Now, what is that going to do? How is that going to lead to a disabling effect? First of all, if you connect that teasing and bullying component in stammering to the teasing and bullying component in general, you realize that children who have been teased and bullied for any reason on a repetitive, repeated basis during their formative developmental years end up sustaining some varying levels of trauma that is associated with it. So we are subject to, as children who stammer going through the school age years, we are subject to some levels of trauma because of the experiences that we've had in school. And that trauma actually increases over the years. So the 50% figure, which I told you about, the 50 to 80% range, the 50% is largely reported for younger children. As children get older, teasing and bullying increases. So it's for high schoolers, it's closer to the 80% point. About 87% to 90% of adults who stammer report that they've been teased and bullied in school. Now, all of these patterns of avoidance, anxiety, all of this stuff starts early on, right? So you can see how this life experience is going to shape your levels of anxiety, your levels of introversion, your level of self-confidence. All of these things are going to be impacted as a result of it. All of these are signs of adverse impact. All of these connect to the disabling component in the condition. Second, research on social anxiety. Approximately 60% of adults who stammer meet the diagnostic criteria for social anxiety disorder called SAD, SAD. This number is different in the regular population, which is about 5 to 12. So compare 5 to 12% of the non-stammering population reporting or fitting the diagnostic criteria of social anxiety. Here we're talking about 60% of adults. Okay, that's going to lead to perhaps in some of us higher rates of depression, low rates of self-esteem, basically hugely impacting quality of life. Okay. Third area, this is research that has been done at least here in the West. And if I'm giving these numbers based on the Western data that has been collected, I would imagine that the data from India would resemble, if not exceed that, because of the levels of social stigma and the levels of conservativeness that is very much part of the Indian culture. Okay, third area that has been investigated in terms of adverse impact, employment discrimination. Approximately 40 to 50% of people who stammer in surveys report a hiring bias, that there is a hiring bias that is against us. Some report higher levels of unemployment, underemployment, taking much longer to find employment if they're in between jobs. So clearly that's an adverse impact on occupation. That's a very serious academic impact. I mean, that's a very serious adverse impact that of a lot of us experience. And the fourth area that has been investigated, not by much, but there's some preliminary research in this, is what is how do people experience getting into dating, getting into relationships, online dating, so on and so forth. And there again, qualitative data at least indicates that we are, we report fear of rejection, we report hiding, we report being hesitant or joining online groups, and so on and so forth. So the holding back is very pervasive there as well. So the data definitely exists in these four domains collected over the last 15 to 20 years, all pointing to the potential, which is why I said maybe in my response, that there is a potential for significantly disabling the person. One last point that I want to make, which I think is a very crucial one as well, that adds to the compounding disabling nature of stammering. That stammering is one area that most speech pathologists in the US and to a great extent in England, because data is available from those two places across the board, this is the one topic, one area that most speech language therapists feel unprepared for, not very confident, and don't feel they have the skills to manage it. So not only is research pointing to significant disabling impact, the potential for significantly disabling impact with data gathered in 4 different categories, it is also pointing to the fact that the disabling nature can persist to a great extent, largely because speech pathologists themselves are not feeling very prepared and confident in working with the population. So I'll just up here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramit, for layering it out and making us understand in deep about how stammering and disability are framed in both clinical and policies, clinical and social lens. And I would like to share something from my own experience with, IELTS exam in the UK. So there was this section asking if I needed any special requirements. Even though I thought I knew like I will be benefited from support. I was quite hesitant to select that box because first of all, I was a bit unsure whether my stammering falls under that. And also there was no, option there which says speech or stammering. But what made the difference is that knowing in the UK, stammering is explicitly recognized under the Equality Act as a disability. So after knowing that, that kind of gave me confidence, like, okay, I can go ahead and tick that box. And I was also given the, reasonable accommodation where I was given extra time to finish my sentences, uh, and was also fairly assessed. Uh, but then I checked the same IELTS form in India. There, the question was worded around whether the applicant has a permanent disability. So the same way, the options don't have the speech or communication differences. And also one more point is that in the RPWD Act, that is Rights of Persons with Disability Act. Though speech and learning, language disability is mentioned, stammering is not recognized there explicitly. So these kind of languages, or like these kind of uh, not being clear in terms, makes us uh, hesitant to act for ask for support, or like even feel like we don't deserve it, or like have a shame to go and approach and ask for support. So that was my experience on how policies can have a effect on how we get fairly uh, treated or assist. So with that, I would like to invite Harish, the president of TISA, and who has been part of our community for many years. Harish, over time, you have heard so many stories and experiences from people who stammer. Stories about not, facing discrimination, or like not being supported. But at the same time, we also see people who firmly believe that stammering isn't a disability. So what is your thoughts on that? Can you please share your perspectives, Harish? Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Vidya. And this has always been my favorite topic of discussion. Uh, is stammering a disability or not? And I have always got mixed responses on this. And I'm sure, and I do understand now why. First, I will share my own experience and what I feel. So I feel that it is not a disability, and I have two reasons for it. So when you look at disability, right? So it is something that disables me, or stops me from functioning like other people normal. Like if I am uh, like taking the same example which was taken by Dr. Amit Bajaj, if my leg is broken, right, and it is permanently damaged, I will not be able to drive a car, right? I have to take a Uber or a Ola, right? And uh, this will be the same for all the people who has the same condition like me. Like if some other person, like say XYZ, if he or she also has a broken leg with a permanent damage, right? They also wouldn't be able to drive. Okay, but we haven't heard about stammering. That for one person it feels like a disability, and for the other person who might be in a very better attitude, or who sees this stammering in a much better, in a positive way. Okay, they can go and give a presentation even if they stammer. Whereas if I who think that my stammering disables me, I will not be able to uh, give a presentation. So the experience is the same in case of the disability. Is like if I am blind, then I am always blind, and my experience is the experiences of blindness is same for all. Same goes for the other disabilities. But when it comes to stammering, it is like yes or no. depends on my circumstances, my attitude, my perspectives, perceptions, all those things. So that is why I feel that it is not a disability, because if you work on yourself and if you work on your attitudes or something, or if you know more about your stammering, you the experiences can change. Okay, and it has, like, if you had started this poll in 2010, I would have voted yes. But today I have voted no. So that itself is like, what has changed? And but I still stammer. I still do stammer. But why don't I see it as a disability? I see it more as a diversity. When I say diversity, it is like, what if I am bald, okay, or what if I am very dark, I am dark skinned, or something like that. Like in the on those lines, I see stammering. The other thing which is which I believe that stammering is not disabilities, and this is in context with India specifically, is uh, disabilities and things like this in India come with other things like reservations and things like that. Okay, which comes with, like, it needs to be assessed properly and proven with evidence. And when it comes to stammering, I feel this can be questioned by the people of authority. If I say that I stammer and I'm really genuine, okay, I do stammer. I can even show, like, I can go on the stage and I can talk and people can see that I really stammer. But what if I am a very good actor and I really uh, fake it very nicely? No, this kind of thing might always be there in the authority, who in the end would give a certificate that, this person XYZ is 40% disabled. Because what I understand is, in India, if you are declared as 40% disabled, then you can claim reservation. So this kind of things are there in India, and because of this, I think stammering will always be the yes and no thing. And now, as far as my overall thing is concerned, I feel that this will always be like this, like, uh, you know, things like, if the chicken or the egg come first, like, people can debate on this, on and on. Or so, to be more controversial, is there a God or not, or spirituality? So debates like this, right? This can go on and on. I think stammering also comes in that category. Whether is stammering a disability or not will always be in that category. We can go on and on. Thank you, Vidya.
Thank you so much, Harish. Thanks for sharing your, honest opinions and thoughts. And it has so much of layers what you have shared, and it also shows like how you, how one, identify with the word disability, and hence I feel like uh, it's very nuanced. As you said, it's very it needs a lot of angles to be explored upon. When we talk about identity and intersectionality, we have lots to explore in that angle as well. So over to Rusha.
Thank you so much once again, and thank you so much for your views, everyone. Like I think the like the uh, uh, conversation which we had right now gives us a very like smooth segue into like our next topic, which is like uh, intersectionality and identity, as Vidya mentioned. Um, so like ever since I joined TISA and started having conversations with everyone, this topic has been quite central to how I want to like look at stammering and also my own experiences. So by what is like intersectional like sectionality? It's a big word, and it's so big that I am needing to like repeat it to fully say it. So like intersectionality is basically the layering of identities. So like like as a human being, you are not just say a man. You are an Indian man from this place, or like you speak this language. So like that only, like your identity is actually sort of uh like like layered, to put it very simply. So something that we Vidya and I feel very strongly about is that like stammering is not an isolated experience. That like who we are, where we come from, our gender, queerness, class, caste in India, race, in general, region, and also the language that we speak sort of really sort of frames our experience of stammering. Like a very small example which I can use is that like when I talk to someone who I am uh, uh, Bengali, and when I speak to someone who speaks Hindi and they sort of say the word stammering in their language, which is Haklana, and for mine it is Totla. And these two regional words for stammering actually differ quite a bit. Uh, so that is that also shapes our experiences of stammering, and specifically one intersectionality which I will zoom into right now is gender. So like research shows that more men stammer rather than women, so the ratio is more on the side of male persons who stammer, and that has actually also shaped the way research has been framed so far. And right now more intersectional gender specific research is being done, and that has also affected the way like the social idea of stammering uh, has shaped. For instance, like in most movies, you will see that the one who stammers is a man, and very less for like uh, uh, like uh, like women. And in India specifically, as also elsewhere, women have had to fight for their voices. So it sort of like makes me think about whether there is a double kind of like pressure or challenge that comes for women who stammer. Is the experience of stammering a little more unique to uh, women? And uh, interestingly, at TISA, Vidya has been documenting the experiences of women who stammer in a separate podcast, which please check it out. It's absolutely amazing. Um, so with this spark, I would like to invite anyone who would like to share their views about this. What you think. It can be a man or a woman. I'm just opening up the space for like 5 minutes. So if you have any sort of insights, reflections on this, I would love to have them.
Can I say something about this?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. No, just about that. No, just now it is. We have actually discussing about that stammering is a disability or not. On that point, that Mr. Dr. Amit Bajaj and Haris Uzgaonkar, they have uh, presented their viewpoint very well. And it's a disability or not? In that point, Dr. Bajaj, distinguish it very clearly, because one side is that if it is impediment of the body, like you have something less that you cannot repair, so then you can say it's a disability. I know For example, in that recent picture, Sitare Jamin Par, in that one guy have some no having austic like a down syndrome is there, and he is having one chromosome extra. So, and in that case, that boy, he took a long pause to say something. I think for that case, it is we can say it is a disability because he is having one extra chromosome, so he cannot do with that. But after that person like us who has uh, developed this kind of stammering in that school in the early fourth standard, yeah, fifth standard, yeah, sixth standard by bullying at school or kids. So and we and it's a vicious cycle. So once the more you afraid or more you hide yourself, you will be stammering more and more. So in that case, we can say if we work on that and if we try on that, if we take some speech therapy, or we can get the help of TISA, we can attend the SHG meeting, and we can present ourselves in the group of the people, then it can be very well, we can come out from that. So yeah, one side it is if it is impediment, or if it is some neurological issue is there, so there you can say it is a disability, otherwise not. That's my point.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Is there anyone else, like I can take one more response, so like if anyone else wants to add specifically maybe on intersectionality?
Yeah. So Rusha, can I go next?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. I think on the part that you mentioned, identity and I personally think we as Indians, we are highly identity stuck. Not just in terms of stammering, but you touched upon certain things like my race, the language, the geography that I come from. This holding on to each identity, I think it's a very inherent thing in us. Okay, and especially when you put another layer of complexity, man and a woman, when it comes to stammering. Uh, yeah, socially, our brains, as a person who stammers, as a man who stammers, uh, it took me a lot of time to just imagine how a woman who stammers, how her life on a day-to-day basis will be, and why. Again, it's something that I had in my mind at least 8 to 10 years ago, but not now. At least I have been more accommodating. But I just felt that a woman who stammers, maybe there is a grace which is simply missing in her. That's how the brain used to work. It used to say that for a man, it's fine to stammer because we are the tough bred ones. Even if the grace does not come to us, it's still okay because you are a man. But a girl who stammers, I believe you need to first do something about it. Like it's way too not acceptable for a girl to be stammering. Okay. And a lot of it comes from the background that a girl should not be exposed to very harsh things of the world. Okay, so so much of mix and match, and when you come across a person of the opposite gender who has an issue which has been very personal with you, I think the acceptance part is not the same. Yeah, but now I mean this is like long back. Now I feel, the grace part is something that we as human beings, that's the difference between we and uh, other beings. So we have a rational mind, we think logically, and when we go deep into it, we understand that grace is something which is a very inherent part of a communication. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for your honest and also nuanced response. I think we sort of got a view of how society sort of nurtures a certain kind of mentality and everything, and how it also changes and evolves with time. So thank you so much. I think Soma has raised her hand, so you can go ahead. Yeah.
Hi everyone. Yeah, it's a nice discussion, and I will keep my points short. So, yeah, for me, I don't consider stammering as a disability, because, as per my experience, and I have seen the people throughout the years, it is not a constant thing. For me, also, it is not a constant. On some days, I feel like the stammering is less. On some days, I feel like it is more, and it's fine. So it depends on the environment. It depends on my mental state, my hormonal imbalance, etc. So when I would like to stamp something as a permanent disability, I feel that it needs to have something constant. If someone cannot see, blind, if someone is on a wheelchair, so something is kind of constant, uh, which is not changing depending on the environment, like not changing like 100%, not like 90% or 95 percentage. So based on these, I have concluded by my experience along with others' experience, which I have seen over the years, like it should not be considered as disability. Yeah, I would like to consider more as diversity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Soma, for your insight.
Yeah, I was just talking about the question of intersectionality. Like everyone, like every gender, and one point that really Pramod really mentioned, that we are very inheritant, like as Indians, we are very inheritant with our uh, our identity. That let's take an example. If a guy is from UP, is very proud of being a UP g- guy. He is more of a UP guy than an Indian, or a human in general on Earth. So that's how it is, and that's what happens in case of when we talk about stammering. Okay, so if a person calls us a like a hakla. Okay, he has given us an identity, and that is something we don't want to be tagged along with. Okay, but it is something in our brain, it is like people are calling me that. Okay, but it's not something I want to be called, but they have given me this identity. And it's tough to, let go of that identity, right? So it was one point that I really liked about like what Pramod said. And talking about gender thing in stammering. Okay, so I mean, this like for each gender, there are different kind of problems that they face. Let's talk about the male. It's about bringing food. Like in an Indian society, it's patriarchal society, most of it. So it's bringing food to the table. Okay, and so uh, it comes to that. Like if a person is uh, if a person is actually managing a family, it's not just it's not just him he has to take care, it's the whole family. Like there are others dependent on him. And like again talking about from the female perspective. Okay, so I mean there's other like there are different angles to how stammering affects a female. Okay. Like a grace part was one of it, but of course there is raising a family, and I mean, like a person gets a lot from like a son or a daughter gets a lot from his or her mother. Okay, so if a mother is a stammer, the person can also mimic their mother. Okay, and of course it's genetical too. So that's something they have to take care about. That yeah, we don't like the next generation don't reflected from the mother side. And of course, it's just a small niche example, but there are of course other problems that are there attached to the stammering as a women. So, I mean, uh, talking about it is one thing, but at the end, like the root causes of all of the genders are same, I think, I believe. Okay, we weren't heard. Okay, and that's what like we weren't heard and we weren't given the environment around us to speak, basically. And that's what has happened with all of us. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Yatharth, for sharing your insights. I would just like to make a quick comment on the thing that you said about like a mother who stammers. Like I completely see your point, but I think if you would ask me to like reflect on it, I would also say that if a mother who stammers and like she has the uh, responsibility to raise a family, I think, like if the whole family can create a culture where, like they don't see stammering being passed on like as a bad thing, and really like make that environment of empowerment and ease. I think that would not be a problem. And like of course this whole thing is really shaped by how society puts expectations on people and gender. So that was a very, very important point. Thank you so much for mentioning.